Today is Chulin Daf Lamed Hey, and we are going to start Be'ez Hashem Lamed Daled Lamed Beis Ama'ula. Yeah, halfway down. But the only thing is that today, really, most of today's blot of Lamed Hey is really we're pulling together the loose ends of yesterday's blot. Yeah, so maybe we should do a quick chazara of what we accomplished yesterday, and then we'll be able to lead into this thing. Yeah, we started from the Mishnah. The Mishnah discussed the halacha that if somebody shechted and there was no dam. So if there was no dam, so the Tanakhama holds that there's no such thing that shechita is machshir the basar. So the basar and there was no dam, so nothing was machshir the basar. So you could eat the basar even the yadayim mesuavos. So kipshuta yadayim mesuavos means regular yadayim that you didn't wash. You didn't wash your hands in Tir Yadayim. So what's the halach? What's their status? Their status are Yadayim Shniyasim. So Frekti Gemara, what is the problem about these? Who cares? Of course you could be able to eat it Yadayim Mesuavos because ain't Sheni Yoisa Shlishi Bechulin. And the Gemara says, you'll tell me that our Mishnah is talking about by Kachim. We brought 4 rayas that we're not talking about Kachim. So the Gemara, right? So we're definitely talking about Chulin, and after became the Gemara, there seems to be a problem that there would have been a problem of had the basar been huchshel lekabel tumah, there would have been a problem of eating the basar with your hands. The question is why. So the Gemara has 3 pshatim. The first pshat was nitcha, but that first pshat was that maybe the reason is we would have thought that there is a moedik a mechudesh diga halacha, that there is a shlishi by ma'aser sheni. Something that's nikah v'ketzav ma'aser sheni, even though there's nothing by chulin, but ma'aser sheni there is. Yeah, that was, and the Gemara is matcherat. There is maybe a psul v'achila, but that's something else. But not no. There's no status of a sheni or shlishi by Ma'aser Sheni. So we fall off that. So we have 2 other pshatim. This second pshat is we're talking about that normally Yadayim are shniyos. Yadayim, right, have the status of a sheni. But there are specific examples. The marshal of somebody sticks his hand into Beis HaMenuga, so then loit one shita, it has a din. The hands have a din of a tchilos, not shniyos, the tchilos. They get bumped up to a rishon, and then in that case, then you would very gishmak that by chulin, a rishon would make a sheni, and that would be pshat now mishnah. That was the one pshat that we had, and then we had another pshat, and this is the sugya of what that we're talking about. We're talking about somebody that is chulin, still chulin, but it's nasu al tyrus HaKodesh, right? Chulin shenasu al tyrus HaKodesh, and chulin shenasu al tyrus HaKodesh, that the pshat is that has a hatfasas kedusha, that there is some sort of a drabanan diga kedusha, right? And to the point that it's gonna be what's called it. It will have it somehow gets the response. It gets the falls into the rules, at least somewhat, into of kodesh itself, and in this way that by chulin shenasu atayis kodesh, it does have a shlishi. And the Gemara says udeloy Rabbi Yeshua, because we bring down this major brisa, and this brisa seems to have a machloikis. The machloikis in this brisa is the brisa where we really focus most of yesterday and today, which is the brisa says a machloikis Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Lezer says that a oicha rishon becomes a rishon, a oicha sheni becomes a sheni, a oicha shlishi becomes a shlishi, right? But and Rabbi Yeshua argues. So the way to remember Rabbi Yeshua is that Rabbi Yeshua says rishon, sheni, shlishi, everybody's a sheni. Rishon and sheni becomes a sheni, and a shlishi also becomes a sheni. But the shlishi that becomes a sheni is in a very, very specific case, and that case is what everything that we're doing is from that one line. Rabbi Yeshua is with that one line. That what? That when a person eats shlishi, but what kind of shlishi does he eat? When a person eats shlishi of chulin shenasu al tairas truma, he becomes a sheni l'kodesh. chulin shenasu al tairis truma, he becomes a shade in the kodesh. He gets bumped up. Yeah. So he's eating chulin shenasu al tairis truma. He gets bumped up to a kodesh. And we discussed, and yeah, so why dafka chulin shenasu al tairis kodesh? So the way way we're learning is udaloi ke Rabbi Yeshua, because Rabbi Yeshua holds Rabbi Yeshua holds that even chulin shenasu al tairis kodesh has no kedusha. V'harai, he said he had to be mukim dafka by chulin shenasu al tairis truma, but by chulin shenasu al tairis kodesh there's no such halacha. And so our mission is not going like Rabbi Yeshua. Our mission is going like Rabbi Lezer. The Rabbi Lezer holds that what chulin shenasu al tairis that there is a concept of chulin shenasu al tairis kodesh as well. Yeah, that's what we had. Now I just want to read us one a few small connection over here. One is this thing that we discussed, that there's a chiluk between the Mishnah in the first parak in the Mishnah over here, and the way the Olam wants to learn it is it's a gavra, it's a chefza. I mean, if you wanna what's called it that way, you could do it that way. The pshat is that in the over here, we want to know if it's possible to get a status of a shlishi. So we need that the chayfetz itself should take on a din of truma or kedusha, that it itself should change its status. That's one question. But the Gemara, the Mishnah in right, and that's the question of our sugya. But the question of in Chulin Daf Beis was a question of how the shoichet has to deal with this thing. If there's a thing of Chulin shenasu al tairis hakodesh, if he could be mikabel on himself to deal with this as a kedusha, it's a different machlokes. This is Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Lezer, and that's a machlokes amaroyim. It's two separate machlokes, and they're not totally abah. You could hold this and that, or you could either hold over here that it is and over here it doesn't, or reverse. Okay, good. That was one kinech. Another kinech I was aiming on. I didn't. It's a machlokes Rashi and Tosfos. If you hold a chulin shenasu al tairis hakodesh doesn't work? Why not? It's like Rashi, but l'daita eitzel kol adam. Yeah. So but l'daita eitzel kol adam. So and the other Rishonim say slightly different. Rabbeinu Chananel, I think, says that Rabbeinu Gershom says slightly different because it's not but l'daita eitzel kol adam, but since it's not since it's not a lot of people. But it's more like they weren't geyser. It's not so shchiach, so they weren't geyser. Okay, but just one knech that I wasn't aimed on before. What's the word of the bottle that it's called? By truma, there we say that there's a chulin shenasu al tairis truma, but not by chulin shenasu al tairis hakodesh. What's the word? So it's pashut. Chulin shenasu al tairis truma is all kahanim. All kahanim have a thing that they eat with chulin shenasu al tairis hakodesh, right? So memela that's all kahanim. You have to take all the kahanim into consideration. Yeah, because they eat truma all the time. Mashenki kodesh is everybody. Oh, I was saying by kodesh it's for everybody. Everybody can eat kodesh, right? Eat shlamim, right? So memela by chulin shenasu by chulin, so therefore that's why it's but l'daita eitzel kol adam. Mashenkin, whenever we're talking about truma, it's not but l'daita eitzel kol adam because it's all the kahanim. And if you see, whenever Rashi discusses the when he talks about chulin shenasu al tairis hakodesh, he says kigoin. Kigoyin adam aragel lecha bekachim. Adam aragel, rightfully is ragel. Adam aragel. He happens to be somebody who lives in close proximity to Yerushalayim, right? Mashenkin, or right, and but over here, but by truma, Rashi clearly is talking about yeah. Derech oichlei kodesh, yeah. Mashengan over here by Truma, he's obviously talking about derech hakoyanim. Obviously, it's the koyanim, right? By Truma. So that's the difference. Maybe that's the chilik that try to say. If you're talking about all the koyanim, that's not both the night says eitzekoladim. That's all the koyanim, all the eichel Truma. Mashengan kodesh. It's obviously not everybody that's noig like this, and therefore it would be possible a both the night eitzekoladim. Okay, so that's this Gemara. Yeah, very clear. I'm being back over here because we're going to get back to Tosfos, this machlokes, that there's a machlokes, Rebbe Lezer and Rebbe Shua, if you have Batla Daita, it's called Adam. I'm sorry, if you have Chulin Shenasu Al Taris HaKodesh B'chlal, and then the Gemara introduces Ula, that Ula says that everyone's masking. In other words, Chulin Shenasu Al Taris HaKodesh, we're going to see is two extremes. Either we go like the first pshat, like Rabbi Bar Chana holds that the pshat is that Chulin Shenasu Al Taris HaKodesh is much more killed than Chulin Shenasu Al Taris Truma, because but l'daita eitzekol adam, and it doesn't exist b'chlal. Legabe it's a mashenia oisa shlishi. It's regular has a thing like Chulin. Or we have the opposite extreme, which is Ula that says no fakir kolshkin. When Yeshua said Chulin Shenasu Al Taris Truma, he was saying Chulin Shenasu. And then the Gemara goes through the machlokes. The Gemara goes through the Gemara goes through the conversation in between Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Lezer. It's kedai to read us just one knage. Yeah, we spoke about the lumdis. Everyone talks about this murdiga lumdis of nivas iftar. If nivas iftar, what's the mak? If it's an achila tuma or a makam tuma, that's a lumdis. Everybody talks about that. But there's the next shlav that Rabbi Yeshua says no, that he holds that why is a sheni yos a sheni? We said that. Later, Rebbe Lezer, Rishon is Eichel, Rishon is Eichel, Rishon is a Rishon, Eichel Sheni is a Sheni, Eichel Shlishi is a Shlishi. Later, Rebbe Shua, everybody becomes a Sheni. So Eichel Rishon is a Sheni. Why? Simple, because you have to go down the Darga. Why is Eichel Sheni a Sheni? So he says like this. He says that Eichel Sheni is a Sheni. I'll tell you why. So Rashi says like this, because Metzinu that Oichel is mitama, a sheni is mitama, a sheni ayidei mashkin, right? Which means, because since if you have two pairs and one pair is wet and the other one is tamei, right? So what's going to happen is, and you touch them, so the first A, the pair A is going to be mitama the mashkin to become a rishon, and the mashkin is going to become a rishon is going to be mitama the pair B, right? So right, so because rishon makes a sheni, right? So memela metzinu oichlin shemitama mashkin ayidei sheni is a sheni ayidei mashkin, right? And Rashi says, and this is the big one, as Rashi. Since we find this by sheni is a sheni, so therefore, when you eat a sheni, you have to become a sheni, which is a pliya. Because achira chamira mimaga, what do you mean? This is in Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Lezer was the one that said that he's going to learn up from Nivla Seif Tar that achila is Muhammad and Maga. But now we're going to Rabbi Yeshua. Later Rabbi Yeshua, there's no achila chamir mimaga. That's a big kasha on this Rashi. Yeah, that's a big kasha on this Rashi. A big shtel. What's going on over here? Why? What's this taina that Rashi seems to indicate that even Rabbi Yeshua is maskim that achila is chamira mimaga. V'oid is a lamdish shayla here. A sheni is always a sheni al yedei mashkin. It sounds good, but what do you mean a sheni is always a sheni al yedei mashkin? A sheni is not always a sheni al yedei mashkin. A sheni is oisa mashkin tchila, and the mashkin tchila is oisa this next one a sheni. It's not a sheni oisa sheni aydei mashkin. What's that mean, b'chlal? It's not that the pshat is that Peri A is Mitama Peri B, and Peri A makes, which is a Sheni, makes Peri B a Sheni. It's not true. There's a whole process. It happens to be that at the end of the process, you're going to start with a Sheni, you're going to end up with a Sheni. Big deal. But it's B'chlal not about Peri Rishon and Peri Sheni. It's completely about Mashkin. Yeah? It's not... Yeah, so what is it? What's this? Mitzinu Peri Sheni Yosef Sheni Aydei Mashkin. Yeah? The kash is a good kash. I'll just say that Sevil Tzach in this shtickle that over here in Gezeris, and we're discussing Gezeris over here, and we're talking in Gezeris, we're talking about how to we want to know what kind of a status we should infer on each tamei. So to the naked eye, it looks like a sheni zayis a sheni adei mashkin. Even though obviously that's not what's going on. Obviously there's mechanics here that's working differently, but it looks like it's a sheni zayis a sheni adei mashkin, right? And which is really the svara that we were saying yesterday, legabi nivla seif tar. Even if you say like Reb Chaim that nivla seif tar is not an achila, it's a mokim tumah, but l'maisa seif kol seif, it looks like it happens ayidei achila. That's what it looks like. So memela that would give us rules legabi the oichel. Yeah, if you like to such a svara. Okay. There's another one more last accounting over here for the Gemara before. The Gemara said this Mori Gesvara. Tuma mishiyurin loy gamrinon. It's a Mori Geplia. It's a yeah. So Rashi says, and Rashi says is Meirich. It's like Rashi. What do you mean Tuma mishiyurin loy gamrinon? Rabbi Yeshua wanted to say that I find that the food that's metame is worse than an oichel that's metame. Why? Why? Because food is metame b'kebeita, and by oichlin you need a chatzi pras, right? You need a chatzi pras, and this is we'll leave off with this last ha'ara, and then we're going to go to base. Yeah. Zakrashi. No. That's shiurin. That's not the tumah itself. That's not about the status. That's not about chumrah and taira. That's tam shiurin. When it comes to shiurin, that can prove the chayma and the not. Rashi. The shiurin milsa ba'am pe nafshei v'lav mishum chumra ukula. Ella, I'll tell you, oichel de mitama b'kebeitza kach shir b'yakosov. And Upsol gvia b'chatzi pras hachi tikanabanon. Okay, so that's the source. So what? What does that have to do with the Tum Mishum Legamrina? Yeah. Yeah.
Elaborate on Tumah.
Tumah Mishum Legamrina means that even though this one seems to make Tumah at a smaller level than that one, so it seems like it's a much more Chamadik Tumah. Look how potent it is, that even though it's so much smaller, it still could pass on its Tumah. No! Tumah Mishum Legamrina. We're going to discuss the Chayma and the Kula about not about its size, yeah? And Rashi says, because this has this makar, that has that makar. Okay, that's how Chum and Kula always goes. The makar over here is like this, and this tells the Torah told us over here it's this year, and the Torah told us over here it's this year. Vice does that the Torah over here it's Mocham, over here it's Mochil. What's going on over here? So I just want to lay too. Maybe that alone is the svara. Why did we bringing a raya from the fact that the Rabbana Misakin Psul Gviyah of a chatzi pras, vice dois, we were not looking to learn the shiurim together, because if we were, why did the Torah Taka say that this should be one share? Why did Chazal say it's a different share? So maybe that alone is the svara. Maybe. Okay. Let's go weiter. Good. Sakti Gemara. So now we're going to do. We're picking up the loose ends. The loose ends are now we're going to talk about this. What did he say? He said sheni, that oichel shlishi. Rabbi Yeshua said oichel shlishi is going to become a sheni. Where l'kodesh, only l'kodesh, right? Why? And it's talking about somebody that was b'chulin shenasu al tayris hakodesh. B'chulin shenasu al tayris truma. So then when it comes to kodesh, so it's confusing. You ate something that was nishmar b'tayris truma, and now you want to use it now, and it touched something that's kodesh. So that thing that's kodesh becomes tamei. Yeah, it becomes a sheni. It says sheni l'kodesh ve'ein sheni l'truma. So the question is, so what is the halacha about truma? If somebody truma touches chulin shenasu al tayris, a shlishi of chulin shenasu al tayris truma, what's the halacha? What's the halacha generally? When it comes to truma, right? We know that by truma it never has the shlishi is nifsal, but it's not tamei, right? In other words, that by chulin you have a rishon and a sheni, the rishon becomes tamei, the sheni becomes tamei, right? And then after that's the end of the road, which we're going to get to. Nothing happens. After that, it's all tar. By truma, we have one more step, which means that a sheni is mitame the shlishi, right? But the shlishi, that's the end of the road. So we call that when you're at the end of the road, when you have the ability to be makabel tuma, but not to pass on, we call you a nifsal, right? You're nifsal. So the shlishi is nifsal l'truma, right? When it's kodesh, then it has the ability to pass it on. Okay, but truma doesn't have that ability. So when truma doesn't have that ability, it's nifsal. What happens when the kohen eats that shlishi? What's the halacha? The shlishi is tamei. It's possible. You have to burn it, right? But you can't eat it. But let's say he ate it. What kind of status does he get? That's going to be our sugya. So, and Rashi already told us earlier that even though it's not poisel, right? And right, but avada, somebody that's oichel shlishi or kohen that's oichel shlishi, he becomes a shlishi itself. He gets the tumah like a shlishi, right? That's Ula's halacha. Talk to Gemara. Ama Ula ha'oichel shlishi shel chulin shenasu al tayris truma, or if he ate truma itself. Ha'oichel shlishi shel chulin shenasu al tayris truma nifsa gufa milecha b'truma. That what? That his body gets the status of the shlishi that he ate, and now he's also to eat truma. This is Ula's halacha. My kamashma, affecting Gemara, my kamashma tanina shlishi. Oh, we want to be medayik be'etzem. It's mamash meduyik in Rabbi Shua's words. Why? Because Rabbi Shua said shlishi is sheni lekodesh, the ain sheni letruma. He says if you ate a shlishi, right, then you become a sheni lekodesh, but you don't become a sheni letruma. You don't become a sheni letruma, but a shlishi you do. Yeah, they ain't sheni l'truma. So we could be medayik. Sheni hudlei havi or shlishi havi. So he becomes a shlishi. So if he becomes a shlishi l'truma, what does that mean? That means he's also to eat because he's a shlishi. Obviously, he could touch truma from today till tomorrow because he's not going to pass it on. But he is a shlishi. It says sheni l'kodesh. They ain't sheni l'truma. It's mamish medayik that ain't sheni l'truma. Meaning that you don't become a sheni l'truma, but you're a shlishi l'truma. That's the Gemara's kasha. Ula's just seemingly only parroting what's mafurish in the brisa. So the Gemara and Chanami, that's takat pshat in the brisa. But you would have been matchad at diak haloshim. Ula had to come to say, he have amina. I would have thought loy sheni have, v'loy shlishi have. Ba'atzem, if you eat truma a shlishi, nothing happens. The ID, the Amma, Sheni B'Kodesh, Amanami Sheni B'Truma. In other words, I would have thought to read the Mishnah, Sheni B'Kodesh, ain't Sheni B'Truma, not that the Pshat is ain't Sheni B'Truma, but a Shlishi Miyahave, right?
Monday we're having Rosh Chodesh stuff, so tell us.
So I would, Ula, yeah, so Zok Gemara, that Ula's coming to tell you, talking to be Medaik like that. You would have been Matchid a Dik, that's the Dik. In fact, the Gemara Kasha, Eisvei, and his way is a major machlekes. Yeah, this is a two pshatim in Rashi. Taisus discusses it. Yeah, I don't know how much we could be married, but we'll just at least say get the Rashi program. Now, why Eisvei Rav Amnu Nalul is a Mishnah in. This is really the rules that we started off, that we all grew up with. Harishin shebechulin tamei u'metame. Yeah, chulin, anything could become, that's midaraisa. Chulin becomes tamei, a rishon, right? It becomes rishon. If it touches a sheretz, it becomes a rishon, and it's metame a sheni. Ve'asheni, paisel ve'ena metame. It could passel truma, but it itself doesn't make anything tamei. Ve'hashlishi. Now, shlishi, this chulin, we're talking about chulin. Ve'hashlishi, nechal benezid hadema. What does it mean? It's nechal benezid hadema. So this, by definition, means that this shlishi, this chulin, could be eaten. In other words, this is obviously a language of you're free to go. There's nothing wrong with it. It can't do anything wrong. But it says a lashon of nechal benezid hadema, meaning that it could be eaten. It could be eaten even with truma mixed into it. Yeah? Now, Rashi is going to say two pshatim over here. Yeah? And Tosfos also does the two pshatim. Just Rashi's second pshat is Tosfos' first pshat, and Rashi's first pshat is Tosfos' second pshat. Yeah? And the way the way we'll phrase it is, who says we're talking about chulin shenasu ataris? Okay, the Mishnah's right. Mishnah is obviously is talking about chulin. Yeah. So there's two pshat. The first pshat, Zak Rashi, from the fact that the Mishnah says v'hashlishi, Vai says we're talking about chulin shenasu ataris truma, because otherwise it doesn't have a shlishi b'chal, right? So it must be that we're talking about chulin shenasu ataris truma. That is pshat number one. That's pshat number one. We'll go through the cheshbon in a second. Let me just tell you the reverse. Tosfos is going to go. And Rashi's second shot is going to go. You know how I know we're talking about chulin shenasu ataris truma? Because, and this is introducing the third option that we discussed about why somebody would be chulin shenasu ataris truma. You can be chulin shenasu ataris truma because you're afraid of mix-ups, or you can have chulin shenasu ataris truma because you're trying to train yourself. And here's another one: because I have to mix it together with truma. If I'm doing nizid adema, I'm mixing it with truma. So I have to keep the what's called it. So the chulin has to be up to par, because otherwise it can't be mixed with truma. Yeah, so okay. How do I know I'm talking about chulin shenasu ataris truma? The first shot is because it has v'hashlishi. Must be it's a chulin shenasu ataris truma. Otherwise, how could I get the status of a shlishi? Second shot is that for the fact that I'm mixing it with truma, I'll call it chulin shenasu ataris truma. Okay? Yeah.
Why isn't that just considered truma?
Oh, it's obviously not enough.
There's truma in there.
Now, so what's the shmooze? Now, so let's go back to the first shot. Yeah. So the first shot is we're talking about. We know it says ashlishi. It must be it's chulin shenasu ataris truma, and still it says nechal b'zeh, which means that I could eat it with truma inside. Frekti gemara that what and the gemara's kasha is going to be on how can I eat the truma. How can I eat the truma? The amrit nifsal guma gufay milecha b'truma. If the pshat is that this guy is going to eat, what is he? He's eating the chulin shenasu ataris truma, and he's eating a shlishi, right, with truma mixed into it, right? So the gemara's kasha is, so I'm going to become a shlishi by eating the shlishi, and then I'm eating truma I'm eating the truma mixed in, and I'm being metame the truma. I'm a shlishi, and I'm going to be metame the truma. That is, I'm eating truma b'eser. I'm not metame anything. I can't be metame anything, but that's the kasha, right? Clara kasha, right? Now, if you realize right away, the lashon of Gemara is going to be difficult. If you say that that eating the shlishi, because we know it's a shlishi, it's called the shlishi, and we say that nechal b'nezid adama, which means that it can have truma in it. We're going to allow him to eat something the pasulei legufei, but we don't just care about the pasulei legufei. We're really worried about pasulei legufei, and then what? And then eat the truma. That's a little bit of a doichik in the first shot. That why does it say the pasalei the gufay? We're not just worried about pasaling his body. We're not just worried about him becoming a tame. We're also worried about him becoming tame and then eating the truma. Yeah. Let's just go through the Gemara. And for the Gemara, Amalei Hanach lenezid hadema deleka kezayis bechdei achilas pras. That the pshat is that what am I worried about? The whole thing I'm worried about, like this pshat is, I'm worried about the little bit of the little spices of truma that's going to be in this nizid, right? That and this little spices that it's achilas truma, yeah. It's very, very little. It's not going to be k'zayis b'chdei achilas pras, and memela, if there's no k'zayis b'chdei achilas pras, it is fine. It's okay.
It is.
It's okay. It's mutter. And memela, that's why it's not going to be adam. That is the first shot. Now, before we go to the problems with this pshat, why Rashi's not happy with this pshat, Tosfos Red Zois a new separate problem, which is a vil sugya. Tosfos Red Zois, Tosfos, what do you mean? K'zayis b'chdei achilas pras. But what happened to Chatzi She'as from Natayra? Yeah? What happened to Chatzi She'as from Natayra? Yeah? Avada, I'm not going to be oiv any yisur, I'm not going to get cursed. But the Ma'aseh Chatzi She'as from Natayra is less than k'zayis b'chdei achilas pras. That's Tosfos Kasha. So Tosfos says very cryptically, Avagav the Chatzi She'as min HaTorah, Hacha de Psul HaGuf D'Rabbanan Lo Yichmiru. Yeah. Here's the Tosfos. Avagav the Chatzi is like about halfway through the widest lines. Here, I have it under the cursor. Avagav the Chatzi She'as min HaTorah, Hacha de Psul HaGuf D'Rabbanan Lo Yichmiru. So the what's called it? So just about this shtickle, the Ratzchias, the Rashash, everybody by Faz. What do you mean? So Psanai Klal. A new cloud that by Psul that by Drabonis there's no Chatzi Shir. This is the There should be Negeh every halach every day. I'm saying there should be halach. That's something we should know. How come it's not Gepaskin Shulchan Aruch that by Psul Drabonis there's no Chatzi Shir from Natayra? So they want to say, I don't see it in Tosfos, but they want to say that the pshat is that and there is such a sheet of there is such a sheet of Rishonim, but they want to say that Tosfos means that you have three things: it's a drabanan, and it's a chatzi shir, and also it's a tarufis. By chatzi shir, they tarufis will be they were lechmiru drabanan. That's how they learn pshat in this place, which is also negeh. It's also negeh, but it's not so nofis as much. Anyway, because that's what they want to say. I don't know. I don't know if maybe we could be matra. I don't know if maybe we could be matra. Lashon Tosfos. Tosfos is not saying that the pshat is that this is a cloud, a blanket cloud. Over here, when the Rabbanon were not leichmiru. After Chatzi She'as min HaTorah, Chatzi She'as also. Hacha the Psul HaGuf D'Rabbanan leichmiru. Over here they were not machmer. Min HaTorah it's also. Over here they weren't machmer. If other times they were machmer, other times they were machmer. Over here they weren't machmer. Maybe it could be machmer. Yeah. Not that Tosfos is saying the reason why over here they were machal. Tosfos is saying that in other words, Tosfos is saying don't ask from Kol HaTorah Kul that we know Chatzi She'as min HaTorah. Over here leichmiru. And it's the Rabbanan. So it's the Rabbanan. That Mishum Tam, they were Mechalik. But not that Tosfos is saying a blanket rule over here. Okay, anyway, fine. Okay, that is Mahalach A in the Sugya. The other mahalach in the sugya is that we're not, and Rashi is very bothered by it, because Rashi goes like this. First of all, so it comes out that this kohen, what's happening? This kohen is eating the shlishi, right? And he's eating the shlishi l'chatchila. No problem, eat the soup, right? And our whole problem is what's going to be with the little spices. But we're allowing him to become tamei. It shouldn't be allowed. He's not allowed to become to passel his goof. He's a to passel your goof, even with the abundance. It's awesome. You can't do that. Yeah, that's what Tosfos is Rashi is very bothered by. and also it's mashma that the problem of the Gemara is safinu le'midi de pasale the gufe. It's mashma that that's the goof of the problem, that we're not allowing him to. That how do we allow him to eat his to be metam his body? Sak Rashi under pshat that be'etzem I don't know that this is chulin shenasu al teres truma. And not only don't I know that it's chulin shenasu al teres truma, it's only chulin shenasu al teres truma avifl I need it to be. So in the Hava Amina we thought that it must be chulin shenasu al teres truma because I'm mixing it together with the zedadema with the truma diga spice. And frankly, Gemara. So if it's nizir adama as truma diga spice, so it must be that it's chulin shenasu al teres truma. If it's chulin shenasu al teres truma, I became so now. And Ula saying that oichel shlishi b'chulin shenasu al teres truma, he becomes a shlishi. So what happens? So it's chulin shenasu al teres truma. So this if there is a shlishi, if kain that's oichel a shlishi by chulin shenasu al teres truma becomes a shlishi, so then just by eating the chulin, he was metama himself. It's also the boom be metama you. Chulin shenasu al teres. It's also for a kohen to be metama himself, and we were telling him that he could go eat nacholin b'zed adama. He could just eat it. And for the Gemara, no, it's not chulin shenasu al teres truma in the first place. Because I am mixing it with the truma, I don't care about mixing it with the truma because it's less than exayis b'chtei achilas pras. So since it's less than exayis b'chtei achilas pras, so it's no problem to mix the chulin, the truma, the little what's called the little spice of truma together with chulin gemurim. And since I'm mixing with chulin gemurim, it's not chulin shenasu al teres truma, and therefore it doesn't have a shlishi. So he's not eating a shlishi, so he's not going to be metama himself. Okay, that is the second shot. I hope I didn't lose everybody. Okay, very good. Klar, yeah. So again, we had very very clear. We'll say one more time. One more quick chazar. We'll run on. It's really yesterday's blot. That the pshat is that we have two pshatim in the Gemara. That we have two pshatim in the Gemara. Either the pshat is I know for sure that it's chulin shenasu al teres truma because why? Because it says it's a shlishi. And the kasha was, but that if when he eats, if oichel shlishi of chulin shenasu al teres truma becomes tamei, so the kohen that's eating this truma, this shlishi becomes tamei, and then he's metama the so the food itself is not going to mix each other, right? Because the food is the chulin shenasu al teres truma doesn't pass it on. It's only a shlishi. It's only nifsal. But when the kohen is going to eat it, he's going to eat the shlishi. He's going to become a shlishi. It's also for him to eat the truma. How's he eating truma? Teretz is no problem. It's pachas mikzayis with the achilas pras. Second shot is that no, that the question was that how do we let the kohen become tummy? That the whole way we know that this is talking about chulin shenasu al teres truma is because we allowed it to be mixed together with truma. And how do you allow it to get mixed with truma? It must be because it's a gzayis with the achilas pras. Now Zok the Gemara. Now after the Gemara that by pachas b'gazayis b'nei achilas pras we allow chulin gemurim to be mixed with truma, and therefore it's not talking about by chulin shenasu al teres truma. We're talking about chulin gemurim. That's the Gemara. Now we're going to have one more shtickle Gemara that's mamish similar to Ula, another memra that says the same thing, that if you eat shlishi, you become a shlishi. However, we're not going to be talking about chulin shenasu al teres truma. We're going to talk about chulin gemurim. That's the next Gemara. That's today's blot. It's like the Gemara. Rabbi Yonason, Rabbi ha'oichel shlishi shel truma atzma. Not chulin shenasu al teres truma. Truma itself. Also lechel mataliga. It's also lechel because he becomes a shlishi, but taliga because he doesn't pass it on, right? It's a one-way street. So the Gemara v'Itzchak the Ula v'Itzchak the Rabbi Yonason, and both Ula and Rabbi Yonason, Ula that was talking about Chulin Shenasu Atayres Truma, and Rabbi Yonason that was talking about Truma Atzma, we had to discuss them both. Itzchak the Rabbi Yonason, Dimi the Ula, because had I only had the first member who's talking about Chulin Shenasu Atayres Truma, I would have thought that only over the air would make it. Or have Amina Hani Mili b'Chulin Shenasu Atayres Truma, Avu Truma b'Negir Nami Asa. I would have thought by Truma, it's Mamish Asa Negir, not just that it's also lechol, but it's also liga as well. It's Rabbi Yonason. So therefore, I had to say Rabbi Yonason that no, it's just going to be also l'achila. If I just had Rabbi Yonason, have amina hani milu truma. That's by truma itself. That's where he becomes the also lechol. Avuchun l'achila nami shari tzrichi. Good. That's that Gemara finished. Zok the Gemara. Now we're up to the next shikul Gemara. Now we're going to go up to a Zach. We're going back to our Alta Machlekes. We had a Machlekes, the Gabe, Chulin Shenasu Al Tairis Kodesh. Chulin Shenasu Al Tairis Kodesh is not Chulin Shenasu Al Tairis Truma, but Chulin Shenasu Al Tairis Kodesh, which in some aspects is maybe less. Here we're going to have such a memra, which is going to say that by Chulin Shenasu Al Tairis Kodesh, it doesn't get a status at all of Chulin of Kodesh. Yasser Yitzhak Bashmo Bar Marasu Kamedu Amnachim Yasser Vikama Ha'oichel Shlishi Shel Chulin Shenasu Al Tairis HaKodesh Tor Lechel BeKodesh Shlishi Shel Chulin Shenasu Al Tairis HaKodesh Tor Lechel BeKodesh. Why? Because it's a Shlishi and a Shlishi Bechulin and less bay. It was Nasu Al Tairis HaKodesh. Tairis HaKodesh is nothing. That's a myth. She'ein lecha dava she'oiser revi ba'kodesh ela kodesh mekudesh bilvad. Meaning that when it comes to Tyrus, that the only thing is going to be by kodesh b'kodesh. Kodesh b'kodesh means that it has to be something that was niskalish b'kli or aidei carbon. It's not even something that's going to be niskalish b'peh. So for sure, not by chulin shenasu al Tyrus HaKodesh. Yeah, that's his halach. So Rami Bachama asked a kasha from our Gemara, and Rami Bachama's kasha is a pliya. It's really a pliya. And Rashi simplifies the Gemara. He doesn't put in meat into the Gemara. Maybe Rashi holds that the Gemara is just as a hook for our sugya, and Taka Enechanami wasn't a real kasha, but it sounds like it's a real kasha. Most of Rami Bachama. That what was the kasha? That how could you say that what? That by Chulin Shenasu Al Tairis HaKodesh it doesn't have a revi? I'll ask you from our Rabbi Yeshua. That Rabbi Yeshua said by Chulin Shenasu Al Tairis Truma it gets bumped up to a sheni. So if by Chulin Shenasu Al Tairis Truma it gets bumped up to a sheni, so Chach, so at least by and Kodesh is more common than Truma. So that for sure it should be Shlishi Yosef Revi. That's going to be his kasha. Now, but the obvious problem in the sugya is that Rabbi Yeshua said that not only is a Shlishi is not Yosef Revi, it's Yosef Sheni. It gets bumped up. So why does it get bumped up? It must be that there's some sort of an Ayachidish here. Right? Something going on here, right? And which we explained already that what? The reason is because Hanachla Chuma Shetarasa Chuma Tuma Eitzel Kodesh, which is that even though the Oichle Chuma were very, very nizer, but they were not nearly as nizer as the Oichle Kodesh. And therefore, when it comes in the world of Kodesh, we look at Chuma people as their tummy. Right? And Memela, not only do you have to be machmer, but you get bumped up. Well, right? A shlishi is oisa sheni. Fine. That's the reason. But the question is, and which is going to be the Gemara's answer. So, but the question is, what was the Gemara's havamina? It's so obvious that there's some sort of an answer here because a shlishi is oisa sheni. That's the kasha. Yeah? Let's see the Gemara inside and I'll tell you Tosis. Yeah, it's before it's Mukhbinei Obey. It's Mukhbinei Obey, and that which is going to be the Gemara's terrace. So what was the Gemara's kasha? Tosis has a beautiful pshat that mamish pshat tova. Mamish gorgeous. It sounds like a shtickle Torah, but it's for sure pshat tova. Let's just see the Gemara inside, and we'll see in a second. Yeah, it's like the Gemara. Masra Aviram Bechama Shlishi Sheni LeKodesh Ve'Ein Sheni LeTruma Ve'Ein Sheni LeTruma. But one of the shlishi is oisa shein the kodesh, right? That's going to be our kasha. They shein the truma b'chulin shenasu atayis truma amai halav kodesh mekodeshu. You said that it only kodesh mekodesh and nothing else, right? And I'm assuming that the chulin shenasu atayis kodesh is at least as bad as chulin shenasu atayis truma. Amalei. Hanach the truma shetarasa tomahi etzel hektish. That which is what we said before. Also hanach the truma shetarasa truma etzel hektish. That the pshat is that even though you thought you were tar, but when it comes to hektish, it's a whole new bechin, a whole new level, a whole new standard, and therefore you're going to get even bumped up to a sheni. Umina timra. And where do I find it? Big de amorens medris leproshim. The begadim of Amoretz of Prushim Agavocha Rashi. What's Prushim? Who are Prushim? Yeah, this is a very very big question in the what's called all want to know who the Prushim are. The historians all want to know who the Prushim are because they're very prominent in the Christian what's called it a Bible. They're called the Pharisees, right? So there's some sort of a what's this name Prushim? Where does it come from, right? And the non-Prushim clearly made something. They made it sound like the Prushim were somehow holier than thou, some kind of an arrogance. What's this Prushim? Rashi says, what does Prushim mean? People that were Eichu Chulin B'Tayra. That's what Rashi says. Rashi over here, Eichu Chulin B'Tayra. What? Yeah, the Rashi over here, Eichu Chulin B'Tayra. So it's very good. They're parish from Chulin. Yeah, very good. Okay. Anyway, because right, big day Amoritz, Bedrish Leprushim. But the Maisa, so when it comes to parish, he has to stay away from big day Amoritz. Big day Prushim, Medris, even though these are Prushim, but still Medrish, Leklei, Chuma. Big day Leklei Chuma, Medrish Lekleidesh. So everybody looks at his lower what's called as no standard at all. Yeah, as he's yeah. And Rava thinks Rava midrasas kamit shani midrasas that shemet heshav aleim ishtei nida. Okay, we'll get to Rava in a second. Let's see Tosis. So Tosis amori the gepshat. So Tosis, what was the Havamina? What do you mean you asked the kasha from Tuma that shlishi oichel shlishi becomes a sheni, but you see Meneu Bey that it becomes a sheni. So if it becomes a sheni, so then obviously it's for a whole new svara, and it must be the reason is because you're getting bumped up out of Tuma. Tosis explains that there's a parallel sugya here. There's two lanes over here in this sugya. Why? Because we know that even though we teach the Mishnah, our Mishnah is the like Rabbi Yeshua, because Rabbi Yeshua holds that there's no such thing as Chulin Shenasu Atayis Hektish, only Chulin Shenasu Atayis Truma. That's how we teach the Gemara, right? But what? But Ula said, I think it was Ula. Was it Ula? Who was it? But Ula said, Chevrai Amrin, right? But he said, no, I mean, that Rabbi Shua holds what? Rabbi Shua says, it's by Truma, the Koshgain by Loimi by Truma, right? Loimi by Kaidish, the Kosh, right? What are we saying? We're saying it's a Koshgain. That Truma, the Koshgain, hektish. So like Ula, Zok Taisis, what's that going to pshat? How did a Shlishi Isa Sheni? Yeah?
It's only by Truma.
Yeah.
What's the cheshbon?
Yeah. What? If it's not only by Truma, so where's this? Obviously, the svara is not Hanachlem Truma Shetarasa Tomeitzel Kaidish, because it's not. We're not talking about Truma. We're talking about Hektish also. So we're talking about Hektish as well. So Memela Kochov, there's another reason why every Shlishi gets bumped up to a Sheni. You hear the Taina? Not like the way we learned until now. Yes, not like the Bryce of Rabbi Bachana, clearly, but a whole different sugya that clearly if you say that we're talking about truma v'kol shkein kodesh, so obviously the reason why a shlishi is oisa sheni is not getting bumped up out shetumasan truma shetarasan tum eitzel kodesh, because we're talking about kodesh itself. So how did a kodesh of a shlishi make you into a sheni? Yeah, that's the kasha.
That is the type of word.
What? What's the word? Zog Toises, there's a whole parallel universe. Lloyd that mandama, and that's going to be the maksha over here now, Gemara held, a whole different shot. That it must be that the reason why a shlishi is oisa sheni is like this. That we say, if you became a shlishi, there was a certain amount of negligence that you allowed it to become a shlishi. If you allow the negligence of a shlishi, we assume that we have to be choishish that maybe there was a negligence a little bit more as well. That means that if you touch the sheni and therefore you're becoming a shlishi, we have to be choishish that maybe you became a sheni. And that's why you get bumped up to sheni. A shlishi is like a sheni. Yeah, and that's by side by truma and side by kodesh.
Yeah, because the word
truma. So like them, a gavaldige kasha to our Gemara as well. What do you mean? But it's a revi. Who cares? Yeah, that's the Tosfos' cheshbon. Yeah, very gishmak Tosfos. That's Tosfos' cheshbon be'erich. Bottom Tosfos. Nearly the high actions of the time who the oichel shlishi sheni having bishum the kivin like nisel shomer militama veliga b'sheni ekelis fukinabi dilma nagaberishin. V'sav kiula the nasva tayis hakadosh nami shlishi sheni me'ay taima. Let's like the taras to the truma tumi eitzel kodesh. El shmiras truma kashiva l'shmir eitzel kodesh. One second, one more knage. And Memela, that's very gishmak. Why? Zog Tosfos. That's why all of a sudden you're bringing a raya for uminot timra. What's the minot timra? What do you mean? Minei ubei. From the fact it's a sheni, for a shlishi, it's a sheni. It's obviously else to tarasa to meitzel kodesh. The teretz is he has to bring a raya that there's a concept of bumping up even when there was no incident. In our Mishnah, we're talking about where there was an incident, so maybe the pshat is you're getting bumped up because we're choishish that if you were nichshal, so maybe you were nichshal on something more. Mashen can't, right? But Zokta, no. I'll show you a case where big day Amaretz Medrash Leprushim, we don't know that anything happened. There's nothing happened. Everything's the Amaretz is Shrayin Chai V'Kayim that it never became Tomei. It never became. It's not like the pshat is everyone's mask and became Tomei. The question is its status. It never became Tomei. After it became Choshish, we go. So male from them is that right? That's the very gishmak. A beautiful shtickle Torah. Tastes a shtickle Torah in the Gemara. Okay, weiter. Sagt die Gemara weiter. Sagt die Gemara. My Rav, midrasos kamrit. You're worried about midrasos, meaning chairs. Shani midrasos shema teisha velovish nirda. It's a very, very motzi because tuma they should have a nida in a house, and therefore it's mistava that we should be choishish by the midrasos. I mean that they should have peiros that are tame. We don't. It's not as common, and if it's not as common, we don't say this thing that we bump up the different kedushas that we say that tarasa tum etzel kodesh. Rabbi Yitzchak by Peri Nami Amar. But Rabbi Yitzchak argues, and he holds that no, by Peri we do say that tarasa tum etzel kodesh. Must Rabbi Yomi defti or mi amina beperi. Could it be that you say beperi? Why? But nah. What's this halacha? Here we're talking about what's this story? The halacha is like this. The halacha is that when it comes to the nesachim, there was a murdiga cutout. Even though we're always choishish for the Amaratzim that they can't what's called it that they're not tar, right? And we don't trust them for Tumah and Taira. But Lagabi, the Beis Hamikdash, we were very, very sensitive. We were afraid that if we're not gonna allow them to donate the wine l'nesachim, they're gonna go and do their own, make their own Beis Hamikdash. We were afraid of a split up. Yeah, we were afraid that there was going to be that they were going to split up, and therefore the rule was that if Amoritz comes in and says it's Torah, we trust him. Yeah. So right. Now, when it comes to the Geronos, right? When it comes to yain of truma, avada, you can't be a kabel from him, right? Because by truma there's no such a thing, right? There's no such a heter by truma, because we don't have this thing. By truma, we're not afraid that he's going to make a split off. It's only the guy in the sachet. So now, and the halach is that even though we don't normally trust the Amoritz, legabe the truma, but if he says in this truma, here's truma for you, most of it except one cup, that's for the nesachim, then the whole thing is kodesh. And the shaila is right. And Taisa says it's going to go with breira. That the pshat is the kohen is going to be able to use it until the last cup, and the last cup will give for the nesachim. Yeah. Anyway, that's how it's going to work. But Mela, but frekti Gemara kasha. So Mela is a raya. And the truma is not mitama de kodesh, even though we're choishish for the truma that the yain of the truma of Amoritz is avada tamei. We have to name on its tamei, and it's not mitama de kodesh. The mitarasa tamei it's like kodesh titme truma le kodesh. The truma should be mitama de kodesh, because why? The truma has a lower level than the kodesh over here. Amalei toma b'chiburin ka'amet, toma b'chiburin shani. The migu, the mehemen hakodesh, mehemen nami truma. Now, what does this mean? What exactly the Shakavataya was? So we're going to go with the second Teres of Teis, which is still Mashma and Rashi. That the Gemara's Havamina was that the Gemara's teretz is that since I was together with it at every single second, this halacha of Efrashti l'seicha revi is kodesh is dafke if I was together with if the kodesh was together with the truma at every single second, or I could assume it was together at every single second, and since I could assume it was together at every single second, so therefore since I'm the hemen legabe the kodesh, I'm a hemen legabe the truma as well. So let's go weiter. It's getting late, but let's finish up to the two dots. I thought we were going to finish the amid, but I guess it's not going to happen. We have a kasha, we have a first Braisa that's going to say not like that. Back to Hasheni Shebechulin Metame Mashkin. Yeah, it's changed Shebechulin Metame Mashkin because the Mashkin is Lias Tchila. And Mashkin Chulin Upoisel Eichlei Truma. And it passes the Eichlei Truma, the Sheni is passes Eichlei Truma, right? V'hashlishi is Metame Mashke Kodesh. V'hashlishi is Metame Mashke Kodesh. Upoisel Eichlei Truma. I'm sorry. V'hashlishi Metame Mashke Kodesh. It says Mefurish, Vehashlishi, Metame, we're going to see second, we're talking about Chulin Shenasa Tayas HaKodesh, and still it says, Vehashlishi, Metame Mashke Kodesh, Upoiselech Le Kodesh, Chulin Shenasa Tayas HaKodesh. So how does it stem with the member that we had in Amid Aleph, that what? We had a member from from Rabbi Yitzchak by Shmuel Bar Marsa, Rabbi Yitzchak's member was that what? It only does a shlishi, that shlishi yoser revi only by kodesh b'kodesh. But otherwise, by chulin shenasu ataris hakodesh, there is no revi. Shlishi does nothing, right? Shlishi does nothing. It's all free. Shlishi doesn't make a revi by doesn't or mitamed adam by what? By chulin shenasu ataris hakodesh. And here we have a shlishi mitame mashke kodesh upaisel like kodesh. So it's mufurish, not like Rabbi Yitzchak. So the Gemara ain't a kadami. That Tana holds like that, but it's a Tana. It's a machlekes. We have another brisa. Another brisa that's going to argue why the Tanya chulin shenasu ataris hakodesh harei hen kechulin. It's nothing at all, right? Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Tzaddik harei hen ketshuma. The time shnayim v'lifsol echad. The time shnayim means it's going to be the time rishon and sheni. And it's going to be passel the shlishi, but it's not going to go past. So therefore, it's ein shlishi mamish exactly like Rabbi Yitzchak's member that ein shlishi yoser elu only by kodesh v'kodesh. Okay, we'll stop it here.
You know what a whooper means?